This is Legends and Libations.
Sipping through history.
Let the journey begin.
Welcome back to Legends and Libations. This is episode 3.
Welcome back, our friends, our loyal listeners, to episode 3.
And what is this that you've just poured for us, Jesse?
Yes. So today, I have a white peach sake.
White peach sake?
It's done by, I think it's pronounced Hana, but I'm not going to pretend I know.
Never hold us accountable for any pronunciations.
Especially today.
Especially today. Well, does the drink give us some indication of what we might be talking about today?
Yes, absolutely. As it is a white peach sake, you could take a wild guess and say, first, by our sake, that we may be sailing to the land of Japan.
Japan.
But even more so, the flavor of peach
is also a clue?
Oh, it is. It's absolutely a clue.
Okay.
Today, we're talking about a samurai born from a peach, known as Peach Boy.
Peach Boy. He doesn't sound very intimidating, though. He kind of sounds like you could push him over pretty easily and he would bruise.
Or he's just a little fuzzy. Doesn't even have a
exactly.
beard. Doesn't even have a beard.
Right.
Yeah. No, Peach Boy. Oh, you guys are in for an episode tonight. This is a sake, which is actually probably the sweetest sake I've ever tasted.
I'm going to try my sake now. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not.
I think that this is truly the sweetest sake I've ever tasted.
It sort of tastes like a non-carbonated White Claw that has real sugar in it.
That's what I feel the same. Like I feel like I'm drinking water with
peach flavor.
Yeah, peach flavored water, which is very weird for sake.
It's refreshing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on a lawnmower. I'm drinking my peach sake.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like I'm enjoying things right now. But I also feel like a kid drinking juicy juice.
Yes, it does taste like that. I don't know if I can really taste like the alcohol much in it. This might be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at an 8%. So it's not very high. Actually, usually sake is about 15%.
That's what I thought. I thought I had more of a kick you in the chest sort of.
Yeah. This isn't a kick you in the chest, but it did go really well with Peach Boy. So
I mean, how can you get any more of a good pairing than that? It's literally in the name.
Yeah, it's literally right there. A white peach sake. I feel Peach Boy right now. So, moving forward.
All right.
So if you guys haven't heard of Peach Boy,
and I have not before this podcast, I had never heard of this at all.
That's pretty normal. He actually is called Momotarō.
Momotarō.
And again, anybody who is fluent in Japanese, you can make fun of us, but just don't write us that we said it wrong, because I think we already know. We already feel it. So yeah, Momotarō. Have you ever encountered a boy from a peach? You remember James and the Giant Peach?
I was thinking about that. I actually wrote that in my notes, and I wanted to go back and watch it and see if that was had any influence from this at all.
I couldn't. From what I remember, I cannot think of anything that's like it.
And I don't think I actually saw James and the Giant Peach. I think that back in the days when you had VHS and you had to record, or you couldn't skip the commercials in the VHS. I think I had a movie that had a commercial for James and the Giant Peach, but I saw it so many times. I was like, I've basically seen this movie.
Yeah. James and the Giant Peach, I would almost say, has the opposite effect of where we get Peach Boy or Momotarō, right? Momotarō is the answer to prayers, the answer to desire by an older couple. Well, James and the Giant Peach is an orphan left to his
there's a lot of disaster.
Yeah, a lot of disaster.
Movie,
and really the only one who has disaster here are the Oni.
And we'll get into them.
We'll get into them. So let's talk about Peach Boy.
Okay.
Let's talk about Momotarō.
How does the story start, Jesse?
So there's an old lady, as all good fairy tales go.
How old are we talking? Grandma age?
Yeah, grandma age, 75.
All right.
Actually, I think in one of the legends I read 60, but
she's just a sweet Japanese
old lady.
grandma,
and she's
minus the children part.
Yeah, and yeah, she has. Yeah, she's not grandma because she has no.
Right, she's just kids. Grandma age.
Yeah, okay. She's like the sweet old lady that is. Yeah, just a sweet old lady. That's all. And her husband is he's out cutting grass or he's collecting wheat.
In some versions, I saw that he was also a woodcutter.
Yeah. He's doing something, being a man out there, and she's going out and she's washing clothes at the river.
Which, how clean do they really get? Like,
so one time when I lived in Honduras, I had to wash my clothes in a river. I don't know if they do get clean, but
they just get wet.
They get wet, and you rub them against rocks, and you're like, oh my God, I'm wearing my clothes out before I even way more than a washer.
I think some of my H&M shirts would dissolve if I tried to like wash them on a rock.
They would
come up with a bunch of holes in them.
H&M loves dissolving. Yeah.
That's true considering how many H&M pairs of shorts that I've ripped at work in the past like 2 weeks. But
Yep. Anyways, so she's going to the river to wash clothes while he's out to work all day.
It's like a daily activity.
Maybe a weekly. Yeah. Maybe you don't wash your clothes every day, but pretty often. And so she goes out to the river and starts washing. And I mean, things are getting clean as you can get when you're washing things on river rocks.
Without the tide or the Tide Pods.
Yeah, without the Tide Pods. Well, from the corner of her eye, she spots a big old peach.
Does she know it's a peach? Like,
right
away. Unmistakably,
it's just a peach. And when it says a giant peach, I don't know if it's like as big as. I think it's probably as big as your head.
Like
maybe a
bigger than a basketball.
Yeah, maybe like that size.
Okay.
It didn't seem like it was so big, but it seemed big.
It was big enough for her to be able to carry it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, all of them are big enough to carry, even the small ones, right?
That's true. Well, James and the Giant Peach was not big enough.
No, that one's too big to carry.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that big. Big. And she's like, wow, my husband would love that peach. She's so considerate. She's not
very considerate.
I know. She's like, my husband would love that peach as a present. She's not like, I want this peach.
Man, I could eat this whole peach right now and not ever tell him about it.
Yeah, no. She's like, I'm going to share this with my husband. How wonderful of her. So she tries getting the peach to come to her. But, well, you can't just summon a peach across the river. And it's really deep and apparently kind of dangerous.
Right. So you got to stay near the edge to do your, like, clothes washing.
Yeah. You go by the rocks and you can't just go on the deep end. And so she sings a sweet song to it, which this seems like magic. This is where the fairy tale kind of comes in, right? I was surprised with how many songs that I saw in this, which was a total of 2, but still more than I thought.
Mm-hmm. All good like fairy tale things have a good song in them.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like this was ready for Disney. And why hasn't Disney done this yet? They don't care about Momotarō, but they should.
They should.
So anyways, she sings a song that's essentially like, hey, over here's sweet water. The deep over there is bitter water. Come to the sweetness, avoid the bitterness. That's essentially a translation of the song that I just made up. But, well, I didn't make up the song, but I made up the translation just now.
It's interesting how, like, right off the bat, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, look at the size of that peach. It was, oh, it's bitter over there. Come to me.
Yeah, come to me. And she even made the excuse, I can't go find it. She looked for a stick, but she couldn't go too far, otherwise she would lose the peach.
Mm-hmm.
So she sings a magic song.
What does that even mean? Like, I'm going to lose the peach? Is it going to just, like...
float away? Maybe downriver? Yeah, but, like... Either way, she's like, well, I can't get a stick, so I'm going to sing to it, and it works.
The next best thing.
Yeah, the next best thing. Next time you guys are, next time you guys are like, I'm having a hard time getting this thing that I want, go ahead and sing to it.
Try to sing a song to it.
Sing a song.
You'll be surprised at what happens.
It'll change everything.
Yes.
So from there, she is able to, the peach comes, it's coerced. It's like, yeah, I'm going to come. Mm-hmm. So the peach comes to her. She's amazed by it. She quits washing clothes. She's like, this can wait.
Good.
And she runs back home.
Clothes washing can wait for anything, though, pretty much when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I mean, like, even after it's washed, you're like, it can be waited.
That's the worst part is the after part, really.
Yeah,
but we have washing machines these days. So, like, back then, the whole process was probably pretty unenjoyable.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Me neither. So I would stop for a peach. I would probably stop for a lot less.
I would stop if it was a regular strawberry.
I would stop if it was a little bit hot outside.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's a little hot. I'm going to stop.
Yeah. Why am I doing this right now?
We can be sweaty for one more day in our dirty clothes.
Exactly.
So what happens is, well, she takes the peach home.
Okay.
Well, it's getting heavier on the way home. It's getting bigger. It's just crazy. This peach is growing while it's not on the tree. I'm like, magic peach.
That's crazy.
This is like, if you guys ever see a giant peach and then it keeps growing, you got a magic peach. You just got to accept this peach is not normal.
Yes.
Well, anyways, I'm hoping the same thing happens with this sake, where it's a little less normal. Because right now I feel like I'm drinking juicy juice.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Okay, so she gets the peach home, and is her husband home when she gets home?
No, he's not home. In fact,
he's out cutting the wood.
Yeah, he's doing his job. He's doing his job, and she's almost impatient about it. She's like, "Come on, I want him home. I want him home. I want him home."
Well, I would want him home too, because you never know how big the peach is going to get if it's already grown.
What happens if this becomes a James and the Giant Peach situation?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's going to take over our entire house, and I'm going to have to clean it up.
Yeah, and but it doesn't get that big. It gets a little bit bigger, and then he gets home. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I have something to show you." And he's like, "Why are you being so impatient? What's up?"
You mean other than the giant peach that's sitting on the other side of the room?
Yeah. Well, then she's like, "Well, no, I have a present for you." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's very nice. You're so sweet." And it is so nice and sweet, which we've confirmed. But he's like, "Oh, well, that's a nice peach. Let's share it." Of course. I love how coupley they are. They're like
exactly.
They're like that couple. Like, oh,
they're considerate and affectionate in this very endearing way.
Yeah, they are. And they're both 60 or older. This is where it gets crazy. They cut into the peach, or when they're about to cut into the peach, not when they're about to.
When they're about to,
it splits open
on its own.
Splits open on its own, and then there's a boy in it.
There's a boy.
Yeah.
Inside the peach.
Inside the peach. He's like, psh, and he's already like talking. Like when I read the legend, it seems like he's already talking like philosophy.
Well, he'd have to be pretty big. Like the peach would have to be pretty big if it's going to have an already talking boy inside of it.
Well, yeah. I'm not even sure. Is he like a baby who's? Have you ever read any of those old stories, like all those old like pseudo-epigrapha kind of writings about Christ, where he's like a talking baby who commands animals?
I have not. But
well, it gave me super vibes like that. It gave me super vibes of like this baby from a peach just talking and giving commands, and they listen to him, but they're overjoyed. In one of the translations, it literally said they didn't know what to do with their arms and their feet. I imagine they were dancing awkwardly or something. Yeah, they just had no idea what to do, but they were overjoyed because they had been praying for some kid to come because they just wanted. Because
they were childless.
Yeah, they were childless.
They wanted to have,
which is embarrassing in the ancient world.
I could see that too, because everything is about preserving your line.
Yeah, and they didn't have that, but now they did. Boy, who's speaking philosophy, comes out of the peach, and he's their boy, and he's like, "The gods gave me to you."
So they were immediately like, "This is a gift.
This is a gift." Yeah. They weren't scared of this. It wasn't like Disney Hercules where they're like a little like unsure about it. They were like, "This is a badass. We like him." Yeah,
I would be a little skeptical, but I guess that they were pretty like fervent in their praying to where they recognized it instantly as being an answer to their prayers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they
kind of like don't really question it, and they're just like, okay, well, this is not an everyday occurrence, but I'm gonna act like it kind of is an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. Well, he grows up quite quickly. Like he doesn't grow up quickly, like in the sense of like 15 years is 15 years, but like he grows up and becomes wiser.
He grows up like
stronger
at the rate of a normal child.
Yeah, but he's wiser and stronger than all the rest. He's very messianic in his kind of like image there. He's like, he is like that is like the Disney Hercules, except for he's liked by people. The Disney Hercules, no one liked him, right?
So he's like the popular and helpful.
Yeah,
smart and wise and
like
strong.
If you're his friend, you're like, yeah, I'm his friend.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell people about it.
I'm friends with Momotarō.
I'm friends with yeah. I mean, you're telling everyone. I mean, there's literally a drink right here named after Momotarō.
Right. And they named him Momotarō.
Yeah, which literally means son of a peach.
Right. The Momo is the peach
and Taro is firstborn.
Okay.
Yeah. So Momotarō, which sounds like a really good candy.
All right. So what does Momotarō do as he grows up?
Yeah. So he grows up and he's, like I said, he's prestigious. He's getting to Harvard, right? People love him.
The Japanese equivalent of,
of
Harvard. The medieval Japanese.
Yeah, the ancient medieval Japanese equivalent of Harvard.
Which I'm not sure what that would be like.
And this is where kind of there's some variation. One of the stories says he was 15 when he kind of grew to like, I need to do something.
And apparently the older versions say that he was older.
Yeah, like 30.
As old as 30 when he ventures out from home.
Yeah, but in I think the past 200 years, he has gotten a lot younger.
So it seems like they were kind of adjusting the story for a more widespread, younger audience.
Yeah, inspire the youth.
To make it more accessible. Yeah.
So by the end of it, it's 15. But traditionally 30.
But when you're a little kid, a 15-year-old looks like they're in college.
Yeah.
Looks like they would probably have a full-time job.
Now a 15-year-old looks like, I'm like, are you allowed to do anything?
Right,
yet?
exactly. Can you drive?
Can you do that?
Do you need a note from your mom?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna go with him being about 15. Though.
Okay, we'll stick with him being 15.
When
here.
you picture him in your head,
yeah, he's 15. Peach fuzz for a beard. Peach fuzz for a beard.
I like to imagine him. Have you ever played Super Smash Brothers before?
Yeah. That was such a fun game. I like to
imagine him as looking kind of like Ness from that game.
Oh yeah,
with the baseball bat and like the backwards hat and stuff like that.
Yeah. He looks like Ness here.
Yeah.
Here and yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. So we got Ness here. Comes up to his dad and his mom, who are now 75.
Mm-hmm. They're getting on up there.
Yeah, they're getting on up there.
And about life expectancy back then.
Well, and then like they need him to take care of them.
Right.
But what does he do? Father, I have to do something. What does he have to do?
Well, he has heard of this race of ogres called the Oni.
Yeah, Oni. Yeah,
it doesn't translate exactly to ogres, but you get a visual image of them being kind of like an ogre troll.
Yeah. Oni are kind of a weird creature because they're. It's also sometimes translated demon, but none of that really captures it because this kind of like again in the ancient
cross
world,
between a spiritual being and a physical being.
Exactly, almost more like the Norwegian trolls or giants.
Mm-hmm.
They're these creatures that are both. Act
or
as
even
like
a
minor.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's a mythical aspect to them.
Absolutely. Or even more so like the Yeti. It's like
but they're
religious evil.
Would you say they're chaotic evil?
I would definitely say they're at least chaotic and maybe evil.
Yeah, probably.
These
evil.
ones definitely. These ones are definitely evil because they're going around the neighborhood and raiding and pillaging
and
they seem like Vikings, annoying Vikings.
Like they might be an allegory for Vikings.
Yeah, like a Japanese version of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going ahead and taking people, taking treasure.
And word of this has reached Momotaro's village, yes, where he lives.
And he's like, Dad, I have business to attend to. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are you going to do? We need you around here. And he's like, no, don't worry, I'm going to come back.
We got to cut the grass. And
we got to cut the grass.
Wood. And I'm like, that'll be there when I get back.
He's like, yeah, but I need to go do something.
Why do we all need to have trimmed grass anyway?
Yeah, right? why are we worrying so much about yard work?
Exactly.
That's a 20th century worry.
Mm-hmm. His parents are pretty accepting, though.
Yeah. When he's like, I have to go fight the Oni. And again, these Oni usually are depicted with anywhere between 1 and 3 eyes, 3 and 6 toes.
Anywhere between 1 and 3 eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big variation there.
Yeah. But also their fingers. They may have 3 fingers. They may have 6 or toes. And then they a lot of times have 1 or 2 or 3 horns.
Yeah,
they're not really. There's not a unified belief on these.
It's sort of whatever fear scares you the most.
Yeah,
the form that they take on.
Yeah. Oh, and then they can change their image too. They can a male Oni can turn into a female that's pretty. That's really annoying.
Wow,
kind of tricky.
That's kind of like today.
So, anyways, he's like, parents, I love you, but I gotta go. I gotta go fight the Oni.
And they understand. Yeah, they're down with that. They say, before you go, let me make you some of the best traveling food that you have ever tasted.
It's not trail mix, guys. It's not trail mix.
What is it, Jesse?
It's kibi dongo.
Kibi dongo.
Yeah. Which, when I first heard what this was, somebody said it's like mochi, but not, because it's made from millet.
Okay, well, it's like mochi, which it's not anything like mochi because, first of all, when I have mochi, it's usually frozen, and it wasn't frozen.
No, it's not frozen. It's like traditional mochi with the red bean paste.
Red bean paste. Okay, well, this wasn't made out of red bean paste. This was made out of millet. And if you don't know what millet is, you know how like when you go to the health store and you see that wall of like different types of flours, and it's like, well, this is the almond flour and this is the stone ground whatever flour. Well, millet is one of those things that you just like overlooked on the wall of flours that was there all along that you never bought.
But if you were a hippie, you were looking for it.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the kibi part, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently very important to indigenous Japanese culture.
Yeah. And again, when this was translated to me originally, I've heard rice cakes because it is made from a rice also.
That's a lot different than...
I've also heard, you get those Quaker
the most
rice
dry
cakes.
thing you could imagine.
and then I've heard mochi, which of course
which is a delicious delicacy.
Yeah. But this is more like that elven bread that's going to keep
the
you
lembas
going.
bread.
Yeah.
I'm going to imagine more of a cross between lembas bread and modern mochi, and straight in the opposite direction of rice cakes.
Yeah. I thought the rice cakes translation was really weird.
Yeah, that's almost on like Triscuit levels of drying my mouth out.
Oh yeah. One time when I was poor, rice cakes and butter.
Rice cakes and butter.
Yeah. That was like my real low point in life.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I've eaten some rice cakes in my day.
Rice cakes and butter.
Rice cakes and peanut butter is what I put on them.
Yeah, that's for them fancy people, right?
Because they have the different flavors. But
yeah. I like the caramel one.
Anyways, what flavor were the millet dumplings? I mean, the kibidongo is such a fun word to say too.
Kibidongo, I know. Guys, go ahead and get yourself some kibidongo. I think it's going to be a delicious experience. So usually now they're sweet, but apparently traditionally they're not sweet.
I like to imagine them like the Turkish delight in the Chronicles of Narnia. And I feel like I've already said this in an episode of the podcast, so that might be.
We need to bring you some Turkish delight.
Turkish delight, yes. If any of the listeners at home have a Turkish delight guy,
send it to us.
Yes.
We will try it here on the podcast, and that week will be legends, libations, and literal food.
Yes.
Yeah. Because why not?
All right, so they're gonna make him a whole sack of this kibidongo. It must have been pretty like durable.
Yeah. So he wears it on his belt, and it must just be really nice. So he's on his way. He's on his little journey.
Okay.
He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go fight these Oni. I got my kibidongo.
I'm good to go.
Yeah, he's ready. And all of a sudden, there's a big old mean dog growling at him with its sharp teeth, and it's like, it reminds me of the day that I got attacked by a German Shepherd.
You got attacked by a German Shepherd?
Yeah, I got a scar on my leg from it. It's real bad.
Wow. Was the scar from its mouth?
Yeah, because it bit me. It ripped my pants. And the owner was like, oh, I'm so sorry. It ripped your pants, and gave me $10.
Don't sue me. Here's $10.
I know. I'm just like,
what country was this in?
No, this is in the United States.
Okay.
That's even worse.
Wow. Not only did your dog bite me, but you also tried to illegally bribe me to not press charges.
$10. And they didn't even have to buy me new pants with that.
Exactly. I can't even get a new pair of pants for $10 these days.
And so, this dog's growling at him. And he's like, whoa.
Whoa, chill out.
Yeah, he literally tells him, chill out. He's like, I'm Momotarō.
And the dog is like, oh, why didn't you say anything? I've heard all about you.
Yeah, well, first he's like, I'm Momotarō. I could rip you apart. And he's like, why didn't you say anything? I'm so sorry. I feel so rude. I love that he calls himself rude.
How is it that this dog, first of all, pay no mind to the dog that's talking already, but how is it that he's gotten word of this 16-year-old that came from the peach?
Yeah, well,
I mean, maybe if you were born from a peach, that word would spread.
And you're super strong and intelligent.
Yeah, exactly.
But the dog, yeah. I mean, in this world, the dog makes sense, right? and the dog's just like, holy smokes, I'm so rude. I would love to travel with you.
Yeah, can I come with you?
And he's like,
we're like, I don't know. I mean, you did just try to bite me, but that's not what Momotarō says.
No, Momotarō is so much nicer. He's like, right. It's like, yeah,
there's good values instilled.
Yeah. He's like, absolutely, you can come with me. And he's like, I'm really hungry, and I was going to eat that. I wanted to eat that kibidongo.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have some? And Momotarō was like, I can't give you a whole cake of it, or I can't give you a whole rice cake. I can give you half.
Well, if you gave him a whole one, he'd probably eat it too fast and throw it up anyway. So.
Yeah, he's wise. He's like, he knows dogs eat too quick, so he's like, here's a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you for taking my rude self and letting me be part of your companions. And
that's awesome.
I'm going to be a great dog.
So now he's got the dog with him.
Yeah, and the dog is kind of like a big defender. In old like folklore, dog's kind of known as a spiritual protector, which we'll see this kind of theme happen. And in modern world, dog's man's best friend, right?
Exactly.
Nothing's changed.
Right.
Still our spiritual protector. You're like a little scared tonight, dog will save you.
You feel better when the dog is there.
Yeah, and if dog starts barking, you're like, what's wrong with things? Or if your dog, you bring in someone new, and the dog's like, hey, I don't like this person. You're like, I don't really like this person.
That's why one of my friends has 7 dogs, so I can only imagine how safe that they feel at their house with 7 dogs.
Unless they're like 7 chihuahuas. That doesn't feel safe.
They're like half all chihuahua-like dogs, but they're still pretty safe.
Okay, yeah. They have someone barking. Well, they go along their way. Well, then there's a monkey. And a monkey.
A monkey.
Yeah, a monkey. He's just like, hey, what's up? I want to join the team. And the dog's like, get out of here. We're doing this together. It's me and Momotarō. He's like kind of like, this is my friend. Get out of here.
Exactly.
But the monkey's like, no, I want to help.
Right. I'm just here for the ride. And
I
want to be part of the group.
I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I want to go defeat the Oni.
Why do we have to choose favorites? Like, I want to be part of this group.
And so Momotarō gives him a piece and says, dog, relax.
Right.
I can choose who I want.
My companions.
Choose. My companions.
My quest,
choice.
My companions.
Yeah. My quest, my companions.
Yeah.
That's how we should always approach like any day in life. Anytime we're about to go out, my quest, my companions. Yeah, choose your companions wisely. and the dog and the monkey really don't get along really well.
I can see that.
Yeah, they're like, the dog's like, why do you want a monkey? And the monkey's like, I'm kind of like you, but not really.
I'm kind of like Momotarō too.
Yeah. And so
they're the uncanny valley for a dog.
Yeah. So what Momotaro is he puts one in front, and if I'm correct, it's the dog, and he gives the dog a flag to hold in the front.
Flag?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he puts the monkey in the back.
Standard bearer and the rear guard.
Yeah, and with like a sword or something to kind of defend the rear guard.
That's good.
And so he separates them, and he's the mediator between these two animals.
Very wise.
Yeah. The wise Momotarō, right? Peach Boy, being wise.
So he keeps going.
Well, and then there's a pheasant, and he's like, wow, that's a really pretty pheasant. It is said that it had 7 different colors of feathers on it.
Wow.
Along with a red head.
Like Roy G. Biv sort of
feathers. Yeah. It looks amazing. And he's like, well, I'm going to attack that. And if it doesn't, like, when it's Momotarō that's like, let's attack that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the dog's like, okay, I'm in.
Oh, yeah, you said attack, and there's a bird.
Yeah, and the dog loves attacking things. It's his favorite thing to do. It's like, what are we doing this weekend? We attacking something?
What are we attacking this weekend?
I'm in, 100%. And so he goes attacking them. And the bird's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I can fly.
and so after they kind of pin down the bird, they pin down the pheasant. Yeah, he pins it down, and he's just like, hey, you're either going to join me or my dog's going to bite your head off.
Oh, that's a little threatening, more than I would expect.
Way more threatening. Yeah, Momotarō is like really here. He's like, get yourself together.
Assert dominance over this new situation.
This pheasant. Exactly. And the pheasant's like, absolutely, I'm going to join you.
You can't have pheasants walking all over you.
No, you can't.
You'll have a KFC
Yeah, situation. Exactly. All over the place. KFC will open up everywhere.
Right.
You know that's
very popular in Asia.
A Japanese tradition on Christmas Day is to go get KFC.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah. Absolutely a Japanese tradition. And
some advertising person got a bonus for that.
It makes me want to have KFC on Christmas. But they're not usually open here in America.
Yeah, I understand.
Not that we're there in America, right? Anyways,
not that they should be open on Christmas either.
So he doesn't give the pheasant any kibidongo right away, and it's not right away. He kind of proves his loyalty for like a half a day, and then he's like, "Here's some kibidongo."
Right.
And so all 3 animals now are in like kind of like this weird communion with him because they've all shared with his food, right?
Exactly.
He's given them all food.
I feel some like Wizard of Oz type vibes.
Yeah. But they can't get along. They keep on fighting.
Collecting companions.
Yeah. He's collecting companions, but these companions can't get along. Imagine if Tin Man kept on punching to lion, the cowardly lion.
Well, there's a reason they were alone to begin with. It's probably because they didn't play well with others.
Yeah. Well, here they are, not playing well.
Exactly. But Momotaro's going to like get them all into line pretty soon. I think, because you're only as strong as your weakest link when it comes to this.
Yeah. You can't be a group of companions like doing this. So they get to the water. They get to the water where they're gonna have to sail out, right?
Mm-hmm. Why are they sailing out?
Because they have to get to the island where the Onis live. So the Oni don't live on normal
the mainland.
Land. They don't live on the mainland.
Okay.
They live on an island called, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, an Onigashima,
which means
Gashima. Onigashima, I think.
Yeah, it's like the island of
the island of Oni, or the island of ogres.
Demons, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
In real life, they think that this might draw comparison to a real island called Megijima.
Means the Isle of Woman.
Really?
Yeah, it does. And then right next to it, there's the Isle of Man.
There's a good metaphor in there.
Oh,
but
definitely.
They think that this might be the island, though, because there's like an extensive cave system on the island, which sort of like gives rise to this portal to hell demon
portal to
place
hell,
where they live, the dwelling place of demons.
Exactly. I have a dear colleague Master Ariyoshi, who suggested that, well, he didn't suggest, he actually lived right in the town that would look at that island.
Really?
Yeah, he would look at that island every morning and be like,
that's kind of ominous.
There's the gates of hell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's just pop on over there and
it made
pay 7 yen for a tour.
Yeah. Well, you can go there for a tour.
Yeah. You told me about that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you can take a little ferry ride there, ride your bike. There's a lot of cherry blossoms and a cave system, and they apparently have a statue of a big Oni there too.
Do you have to sign a waiver, like if you fall into the cave to hell and the demons take you in? Are they liable for like that sort of thing?
I don't think a government's liable for what demons do, right?
Probably not. Yeah. That's why they make you sign those waivers.
Yeah, here guys go. Good luck. Go see our portal to hell.
Exactly.
Portals to hell are such a common thing in like legends.
I love them. I think that they're really cool.
I feel like if a legend doesn't have a portal to hell, is it actually a legend? Or is it just normal life?
Right. We'll get into more portals to hell later in other episodes because we've read about quite a few of them that we think you guys might find interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're at the water's edge. They're squabbling. They've got to get to the island to subdue the Oni.
Well, and they're squabbling, and they're being cowardly. They're like, we can't go over the water.
I could see that.
Yeah, well, imagine a pheasant, a dog, and a monkey. They don't normally ride in boats.
When I think of a pheasant, I usually, like, I'm not really thinking of a flying animal, even though that they do fly. I'm thinking more of like a small ostrich sort of situation.
Well, I mean, I think I always imagine pheasants in the woods.
Okay.
Always, or in
like a peacock without the big tail thing.
Yeah,
or something.
They're like littler. They're like the peacock cousin.
People who go pheasant hunting are shouting at their phones right now.
Yeah. You guys who hunt, we know what pheasants are.
I've never been hunting in my life, Jesse.
That's fair.
I would Dick Cheney somebody on accident if you took me hunting.
Well, we don't have to. We don't have to. If I'm going hunting, it's going Oni hunting. By the way, if you want to support a episode where we go Oni hunting, you're just gonna have to pay for our tickets and for our food for the week. But we will go to Hell Island.
Yes, on destination Legends and Libations.
Yeah,
we will do it while drinking the libations.
While drinking sake, we will go all day.
Yes.
So we
will hire a GoPro boy.
Yeah, consider your investments and think of us.
Mm-hmm.
I did do a little wink right there, just so you guys invested.
I mean, as far as bang for buck for entertainment value, you can't get much better.
We will keep you guys entertained.
Right.
Anyway, so the animals are fighting, and Momotarō decides to test them. He's like, you know what? All of you guys are cowards. None of you are worthy.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. Exactly, you're fired.
Yeah.
And
we're cleaning house right now.
Yeah, and I'm going alone because you guys are wussies.
You're just a liability at this point. What if we're trying to be quiet and y'all are just like bickering and you get us found out?
It's not worth
It's game over. Yeah.
Well, immediately, each of them repent. They're like, "Oh no, please! First the dog, and then the monkey, and then the pheasant, and then it goes through the cycle again where they ask again for forgiveness."
Does it work?
It does. Momotaro's like,
of course.
All right. And apparently from that point on, they got along. They no longer fought.
They saw the importance of their mission.
They saw the importance of a unified mission, and they themselves got over their differences. Hey, you have a weird tail. Hey, you can fly. Hey, you bark a lot. They got over all those and said, okay, well, we're in. We're one.
Lick your butt.
Yeah. We're one unified Momotarō team.
Team Momotarō.
Yeah. And so here they are. And they sail across. Apparently it takes a lot longer than I thought it would go really quick, but they were on a boat for some days.
I could see that.
And Momotarō was afraid of being bored, but apparently they were really entertaining, and so everyone got along and they told stories, and this is a good old time.
I'm afraid of being bored on my way to fight the literal demons.
Can you imagine? I mean, could you imagine even like we fly, even flying across the world now takes one day.
Right.
And imagine taking months and months.
Exactly. It's like those it's like the Titanic and that sort of era where you could take a boat across the Atlantic and it took like 10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah, could you imagine doing that?
I think that would be awesome though.
I know.
You might get tired of it depending on I guess like the circumstances or like cabin fever.
You hit an iceberg.
Yeah. That might ruin your time.
Might ruin your day.
And there's not enough room on the stupid door for you to float.
Yeah. Poor Jack.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, well, So they get close to the island. They finally see the island, and Momotaro's like, "There's the island. We need to deal with this." And so, what does he do? He sends the pheasant ahead.
Smart move.
Yeah, the pheasant goes.
Reconnaissance mission.
Yeah. Well, the pheasant flies right up to the top of the mountain where apparently like the Oni are hanging out, and he's just like, "I'm a bird," and they're like, "We're gonna fight you." But apparently he's a really good fighter, and like, wow, it's like many birds are fighting us.
Wow, I did read that. It's you just completely missed the mission assignment was to like go look at what our threat level was.
Now he just starts fighting.
Yeah,
them.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a pheasant.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Fighting pheasant.
But this actually works out to their advantage because during this time they're able to find an alternative way in while the Oni are distracted.
Yeah, they're able to get onto the island secretly.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that means it's Momotaro, the dog, and the monkey. And while they're heading up there, they find a few slave girls. And he's like, "Holy crap, who are you guys?" And they're like, "Oh, we're daughters of some lords, but we were raided, and they
took us back home." Yeah,
typical Viking story.
It does sound like a Viking story.
In a modern world, they make it a weird love story, but that's because the modern world's a little creepy.
Yeah, there always has to be some kind of love story.
Yeah.
You got to appeal to the mass audience.
Yeah. But Momotaro doesn't appeal to the mass
these were
audience.
like the ladies of the court or like the daughters of lords.
Yeah.
But they were being forced to do like normal housework chores.
Yeah, they were just doing chores for the Oni. What does the Oni have to do? Well, let me tell you what an Oni has to do. Whenever the pheasant is fighting them, the Oni are like, "Oh no, he's fighting us. Maybe we should put on our tiger loincloth and our horns."
They have to put on their horns.
Yeah.
They're like not part of them already. If you're a shape-shifting demon, then horns should just be like part and parcel with the whole getup.
Yeah, well, also the weird tiger loincloth.
Yeah, I just glossed right over that because I didn't have any references to
so there's apparently a reason for this. On the stars, Leo and the ox, right? Like those two. In Japanese folklore, it's a tiger and an ox, right?
Okay. In Japanese astrology.
Yeah. It's a tiger and an ox, and apparently that is in the northeast. And what happens is there's this kind of belief that the Oni come through these portals that are in the northeast.
Okay.
So
even
even
symbolic of where they're from.
Yeah. So even a lot of buildings have this weird L shape where they're missing their corner. They won't build their doors on the northeast because that's where Oni can come in.
Is that kind of like the thing where the roofs are curved?
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
The roofs are curved so the spirits can't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the sort of same school of thought.
Mm-hmm. And so
like, why not though? Like if you can do this and it might have an impact.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and try it.
Yeah, exactly. And so well, what's also happening is there's the influence of the tiger and the influence of the ox. And so all Oni have horns and tiger loincloths on. Yeah, we got our tiger loincloths.
Very intimidating.
And they look like they actually just seem like they're at a metal show.
Yeah. That's funny.
But anyways, the slave girls are like, "Yeah, we know where this is," and they lead him to the fight.
This is while the pheasant is fighting engaging them already.
Yeah, and he's probably engaging with them for like hours, it seems.
He's probably like, do a little bit of attack, fly up a little bit, stay out of the range. I'm going to wait for backup to come.
They put their loincloths on, and then they fight again. Right.
I'm going to pause while they put their loincloths on.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, a monkey comes up, a dog comes up, and Momotaro
comes up.
And they're fighting him, and they're like, apparently there's like hundreds of them, Oni, and there's like 4 of them. They're like, these 4 fight like they're hundreds.
Right. Like they're just overwhelmed by these 4
with
3 animals and 1 Momotaro.
Which it either means the Oni are not very good at fighting, or these guys are just supreme. Like this is the best of German shepherds. This is the best of monkeys. This is like a gorilla.
Absolutely.
This is the best. This is a giant pheasant. He's a phoenix. And Momotaro is just awesome, right?
Momotaro is Japanese Hercules.
Yeah. Japanese Hercules. Exactly. Well, in time, they, thank you very much. In time, they decide, they win, right? Like, and then the last Oni is like, "Oh my God, don't kill me."
And he's the king of the
Oni.
He's the
king of the Oni.
He's the Oni chief.
Yeah. Please don't kill me. And Momotaro is kind of like a really like sarcastic. He's like, "Oh, the king of demons kind of asking for mercy. That's not really like you."
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't grant mercy to somebody.
That's like Satan being like, "Can you forgive me?" And you're just like, "Come on, boy.
Are you serious?
Are you serious? You know what you've done." And
but does he
He does not. He's like, no, I cannot forgive you.
He's too dangerous to be kept alive.
Yeah, he's too dangerous to be alive. So he's like, we're going to break your horns and I'm taking you as a prisoner.
Does he rip off his loincloth too?
Probably. He has to. He can't be that. He can't be a tiger.
That might be worse for everybody.
Yeah. Maybe keep the loincloth on, break his horns.
Yeah. Give him a robe or something.
Yeah. So he breaks his horns or one horn. I'm not sure. Could you imagine if the main
one horn breaking
was
off?
like a unicorn?
Yeah. That'd be pretty like disheartening to be an Oni, but you've only got one of your horns because you lost one to some 15-year-old boy.
Yeah, definitely. Remember Hellboy where he had those shaved horns?
Yeah.
That was a weird one. So he breaks the horns and takes him back as prisoner.
Okay. Where does he take him back to?
Mainland Japan.
Okay. And what do they do with him? Just like...
I did not find any specific things. You?
He's going to be the court jester.
Yeah, court jester now, right?
No, I didn't find anything specific.
Yeah, just as
what
they
do
took
you
him
do
back and he went to the judgment of, I don't even know what that means. Like, he just was judged. What would you do with, like, a weird demon ogre?
That can shapeshift.
Yeah, so he's going to get out again.
You
like
put him
Joker.
in a lamp
He's like
or something.
Joker.
Yeah.
He's like Joker. In Batman, the enemies always get away. So we can expect to see an Oni in another Fable.
Yes, because you got to have a sequel.
Yeah. But this one, he's caught.
Okay, so he's caught. The Oni are defeated.
And Momotarō goes home and lives in peace.
They take the treasure.
Oh, yeah, they take
all the bounty and all the gold and all the riches that have been stolen and accumulated by the Oni are somehow taken back on this small boat.
Maybe it's a bigger boat, though.
It might be bigger than we think it is.
So, yeah, he goes back and lives happily ever after.
Happily ever after. We get an actual happily ever after.
Yeah, which is strange. I feel like that ending is...
it's not as open-ended as I would expect some endings to be, but we're really used to like leave room for the sequel sort of mentality these days because they got to come back and get that cash grab like a few years later.
Yeah, exactly. But I did actually in the children's version, they do not hurt the Oni. The Oni ask for mercy, and Momotaro's like, yeah, sure.
I did read that version.
Yeah.
I kind of like that version though.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
You're
sorry.
You're sorry.
Do you mean it? Okay.
All right.
Don't do it again.
Of course, with this story, there's a lot of local variations.
Yeah, I read several different versions. Even one so much that it wasn't a peach that was floating in the river. Sometimes it was a box that was floating.
It's like a Christmas present,
right?
Just in the water.
It'd have to be like a wooden box, like a crate or something.
Left that by World War II.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like somebody dropped supplies.
Some unexploded ordnance. In other versions, there was a box, but inside the box was the peach, and inside the peach
was the boy.
In
the box was the peach, and then the peach was the boy. Wow, that's a beginning of a tongue twister.
Most of them involved the peach.
There was one. And Master Ariyoshi again said that this one maybe was changed for kids. But apparently, as he said, the original legend had the old couple eat of the peach and they became young.
Wow.
And then they had sexy time, which means it's not okay for children.
So the peach was like a massive dose of Viagra.
And like a fountain of youth.
And a fountain of youth.
All at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I mean, you're bound to get some kind of like restorative abilities from a peach that's the size of a basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
If you eat all of it, it's like when you take a bunch of vitamins at once and you don't really feel them because you end up pissing them out. But in this instance,
could you imagine taking like whole bottle?
Exactly. If I was a really rich person, you just like wouldn't even be able to imagine my vitamin cabinet. I would just have one of every vitamin at the store. I would take it every day. It would take me 30 minutes to take my vitamins.
But you would drink it with whiskey, like really fancy whiskey.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to be late. I've just started to take my vitamins. Okay, so some of them, they got younger. They were able to have sex and have a boy all their own.
Yeah.
It was more of like a direct answer from the gods that way, as opposed to an interpretation of an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
But either way, the result is the same.
The result is the same. And if he's 30, he's like more of a man that's kind of doing that kind of fighting. If he's 15, he's still a young adolescent. But the thing about 15 is I think a lot of people, when they read old legends, they imagine Beowulf or Achilles or Odysseus being really old.
Right.
But they're not actually as old. Actually, usually heroes from old tales are about 15 to 20. it's just like when people are usually strongest. You think about like that,
right? Like the best like athletes a lot of the time are going to be in that like peak period before 27 at the very latest. A lot of the time.
So usually when we're thinking of heroes, we're thinking young anyway. 30 is actually kind of an older for the hero in his prime.
It's interesting that it started out old and it was like brought down. The age came down to like 15 or so, to the way the Momotarō is depicted in more modern adaptations.
In modern times, you even sometimes see him as like a kid.
He seems like a child. Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of those strange things that happen.
Mm-hmm. But I think that it also like helped appeal to a wider audience, bringing down his age a little bit, because like, you know, when you're young and you see a show or something and it's got only adults in it, you don't relate to you don't relate to it as well. So in order to like say we want the kids to hear this legend as they're growing up and to like take the values and apply them to their own life, we're going to make Momotarō the age that they can relate to.
Well, it's almost, I mean, honestly, it's what Disney does, right? Like they take all of these old stories and they make it approachable for kids. And I think this is what kind of happens.
And they kind of tone it down a little bit. They soften the rough edges of it.
Yeah, it's not as sexy, not as violent. You know, and it becomes a little bit more approachable, but
digestible, relatable.
And every kid knows Momotarō in Japan.
That blows my mind. Like
it's a normal story. It's as
I was trying to think of an analog to that in our like Western world.
Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, it's something like Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel. That sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like,
but I feel like those aren't even super
known
relevant to now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was reading that was interesting is that like those Red Riding Hood stories of the like Brothers Grimm sort of Hans Christian Andersen style fairy tales are kind of ubiquitous amongst just like the West in general, like European, American, like those regions can relate to it. But that Momotarō is different in that it's strictly Japanese. It has Japanese, like the food, the values, even like the enemies and stuff like that point towards it being a Japanese born and bred legend.
Yeah, it's not even like Chinese or Korean. It is truly and purely a Japanese thing. Everything from the sailing to islands.
There's a specific island that goes with it.
Yeah. To the way the creatures act and what creatures are there. All of it is very, very pointed at Japan. And you know, unlike I think a lot of times with Western fairy tales or like folklore, they have a moral lesson.
Absolutely.
And that's usually really introduced by like Western philosophy and Christendom, right? But that's not as obvious in here. When I think of Momotarō, there's not so much a moral lesson happening here.
Well, there's a lot of your basic stuff that's happening.
But like, it isn't, I guess I would say it's not primarily a moral lesson, but a social lesson. Like if we're thinking about like...
kind of how to act in a group.
How to be a society.
How to be a citizen.
Yeah. And so we're thinking like, if we kind of go back on it, if we think the dog, right?
Right.
The dog originally is trying to fight him.
So aggressive,
and then realizes, okay, this is actually someone I should respect, and I'm going to stand back
better
and
together.
join him. Yeah, we're better together. This is very much symbolic of a society that originally was going against whatever society Momotarō is part of, and then they realize it's actually better if we create unity.
Absolutely.
And then the monkey, of course, is this volunteer. He is a volunteer joining forces with Momotarō.
He wants to be part of something.
Yeah. He's like, hey, this is much better than what I'm doing alone.
Right.
Let's join this tribe.
I see the value in what you're doing.
Yeah. This is actually what we need to do.
Right.
And then
the pheasant
is someone who's attacked and then is like, you're way stronger than me.
They're overpowered.
And they realize that rather than letting themselves just be servants of this, let us join this.
Like, why was I loyal to the thing that I was loyal to? And would it be
this is stronger. This is stronger.
It's like became a part of this.
It's like changing your favorite team once the other one keeps winning, right? You know, that's
exactly.
I think that's the wiser choice. Definitely if you're betting money on it, or if there's any actual personal stock. And
you see people do that with like politics and stuff all the time, though.
Who's winning? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so that's what's happening here, I think. And then the Oni are an interesting thing because, we could think of the Oni as these weird demon ogre things, but the reality is they could have been a people group.
Absolutely.
They could have been like a Viking people group making their survival. They're surviving off this island by raiding and pillaging other people groups, which is exactly what Vikings did.
Imagine if you were like a 13th century Japanese person and...
I don't think I know what that feels like.
No, I mean, none of us could possibly know what it feels like, but we are being raided by these people that we've never seen before. They look a lot different than us. Their technology is a lot different than ours, and their societal structure, their morals, and their values are different.
And they live in caves.
Exactly.
Pretty weird.
And we want to unify our people group against them and vilify them.
We want to, yeah. Well, how do you do that?
You create a story and you cast them as the bad guy. And it seems to be like...
And you cast your general or your leader
as the hero.
And not just a hero, but a mystic hero given by the gods.
A mystic yet relatable hero.
Oh, yeah. Not just a hero that's like, oh, he's weird.
But he's an everyman hero.
He's an everyman hero. He's like, everyone wants to kind of be like that too. Like, and so he really plays the part of like this hero that people are like, yeah, let's team up with him against this people group who's just raiding. And maybe the people group wasn't like that, but that's not the way the story needs to be told to gain control. Right,
exactly. And we were looking back through the history of this, like Momotarō has no definitive author. There's not a person that you can point to that's like, okay, this is where Momotarō came from. But they think that it originated as an oral tradition somewhere between the 12th and the 16th century. And an interesting thing that I thought about is how these oral traditions are sometimes used to transmit our cultural values through the generations. And it's like you were just talking about, the qualities that Momotarō exudes are the story conveys, like bravery, loyalty, cooperation.
Yeah.
Care for your elders too.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
We talked about earlier.
Yeah. And which is such a different, like, these are different values. Right now, we so heavily value individuality.
Individualism.
Oh, yeah, so much to the point that we would watch society fall for the sake of the individual.
Right. Have you heard of this thing called Hofstede's Dimensions of Culture?
No, I haven't.
It's like how you can measure culture on several different, I think there's like 5 different spectrums, but one of the spectrums is individualism versus collectivism. And collectivism would include the caring for your elders. And America definitely goes way more towards the individualism end of the spectrum. And then Japan, as demonstrated by Momotarō, is like
values
more of the collective. Yeah, they value their family. Yeah, exactly. It's important that Momotaro's family wasn't even being attacked by the Onai, but he still took up the burden upon himself to want to go defend them against... defend his people against them.
It's very patriotic in a way, but it's also very community oriented. The pheasant's attacked and was like, okay, well, I can't fight this. I'm going to join this. The dog realizes this is a better choice. The monkey volunteers. Like, there's a real reason to join Momotarō, and so and then that reason is more logical than it is personal opinion,
right,
or personal feeling. You might be like. Momotarō doesn't have the best mochi, but he is giving mochi. He's feeding.
The best mochi is free mochi.
Yeah, exactly. The best drink, the best libation is free libations. Go ahead and send them our way, guys. So, yeah, I think when we start thinking about this in a very historic context, it makes sense. And Japan has a lot of history with empire. I think a lot of times we think of Rome, or we think of, the sun never set on the British Empire. We even think of
the
America
colonies,
often, but
band together.
China, Japan had they had a big series of trying to take over places.
Absolutely.
But
they had to unify first,
which
is sort of like a microcosm
a single island. Yeah.
Of the story of Momotarō is that they couldn't all be there. Like, you couldn't have the pheasant, the monkey, the dog separate.
You couldn't all be fighting,
to fight the Onai.
Exactly.
And so that was a lot. That was a very accurate dynamic that was happening in feudal Japan throughout their history. Is that you would have different regions, like the north, the south, the east. Like, I'm simplifying it a lot because I watched a video, like the 8-minute history video of Japan.
Yeah, good job. I've been watching Shogun, but so slowly. Great show, guys.
I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah, it's a great show. But again, it's kind of those touches of like when Europe touches Japan and when they start communicating. So it's a cool space.
Right. But you could see in the story that they needed to unify to fight the greater good. They had to find their common enemy, and the common enemy is the Onai. And it's very
If you're not with me, you're against me.
Right, exactly. And if you're a people group and like you've got some similarities amongst your people, like we have common values amongst us. But what is the best way to get us to become like best friends is to give us a common enemy to fight against.
Yes, of course.
And so
be courageous together. It's almost like they have to go on an
You go through a bonding experience together, like when you go through an adventure. Yes. It's on the job training. Yeah, is what it is.
Yeah.
So you can see early on in the history of Momotarō that the Onai kind of could be symbols for a lot of different people groups. We don't just have the Vikings, but we have up in the 1904 and 1905, Japan was at war with Russia. It was the Russo-Japanese War, and there were propaganda stories that were being told where the Onai was cast as Russians because that was their enemy.
Yeah. You can always cast them as your enemy.
Exactly. It's sort of like how, in whenever there's any like Western media and you need a villain for something, what are Russia. The two races going to be? Okay, we got one of them, Russia. And then go back about 30, 40 years. What are the 50 years? What's the enemy going to be then?
China? North Korea?
No, go the other way.
Germans.
Oh, yes. They're going to be the Nazis. They're going to be the Russians or the Nazis. The bad guys, even if it doesn't come out and say they're Russians or Germans, they're going to have a German or a Russian accent.
Literally like general insult. You're being a Nazi.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
Right, yeah.
And this is kind of like how they use Momotarō. They adapted the Onai to fit the common enemy of the time up through
even World War
II, where we became the Onai.
Yeah, because we were the Alliance, right?
Right.
And so they depicted us as the Onai. Could you imagine Onai with the American flag? I can naturally.
That's what I was going to say. It's not even that much of a reach, really.
Yeah.
Let's rewind just a little bit, though, is that the Momotarō story was so prolific in Japan, or like so predominant throughout their culture, that it was actually in textbooks as early as 1889. It was in all like grade school textbooks. So
it still is.
Right.
To this day, yeah. As a kid, you're going to learn about Momotarō.
That's nuts to me. 1887, that's when it was. But the guy that they got to be the author for the school sanctioned textbook was also like a Momotarō like fiction writer. That was his like day job. So he was writing.
That's a cool day job.
Yeah, exactly. He was writing versions where Momotarō is like the admiral of this fleet. And he had the monkey and the pheasant and the dog with him, but he was in command of like battleships and stuff like that.
Wow, that's like taking Hercules and just putting him in.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's like we're Hercules and he's going to be like Top Gun, and then we're going to have him fly these F-15s.
Yeah. Loki is James Bond.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You can see it.
Yeah,
it's not that much of a stretch. So this propaganda worked really well. Oh, and I missed one before. They were the Russo-Japanese War. The Onai were the Qing dynasty in Japan.
Wow.
They cast them as the Onai because they were constantly trying to invade and take over Japan.
You honestly could put this in your very daily life, couldn't you? You could be like, okay, here's my dog, my pheasant, and my monkey that I have to deal with. Exactly. Your monkey is just your best friend, guys.
Right.
Your dog is that person you fought with, but then you gain their respect.
Or your real dog.
Yeah, your real dog. And then, well, I guess the pheasant's actually the person you beat up and then forced on your side.
That might be too. The person that you bullied and then you became friends through some happenstance later on.
Well, that a lot of times that's how guys are. They fight and then they're friends.
That is true.
And then Oni are the people who are working against you. Probably don't take this as a life lesson, guys.
But maybe
you could grow from the social value of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like how the Oni are just like the catch-all though for the different enemies or the combatants of your people group, because like where did that originate from? And if you had this island that is notorious for being your portal to hell, then I don't know. There might be some truth behind this. Like it might have come from an actual encounter with some kind of manifestation of evil.
Demon. Well, I mean, like in Taoism and in Taoist culture, Taoist priests will come and just like exorcists will exorcist like Oni out of the area.
Really?
So and the way it was explained was it's a very magical power, and so they do work as the cultural like demons in a lot of ways, but also cultural trolls and fairy creatures and ghost even.
Have you heard of this this author named Graham Hancock? He's like a researcher.
I have not.
Okay, he does like ancient civilizations, ancient cultures, and alternative history sort of thing. I'm a big fan. He's got a special on Netflix. I recommend checking it out. But so I've read a couple of his books, and he talks about fairy tales or like folk legends around the world in his books a lot of the time. And he has this interesting theory where since there wasn't written language necessarily, or there wasn't hard drives that you could store something on for future generations, or there wasn't like a secret bunker where you could write down your most your like how to build a bomb or how to build a transistor, like keep it secret for a long time, that the wisdom of cultures and the knowledge of cultures was preserved through their oral traditions, and that the stories themselves were representations of things that were going on in their actual like day-to-day lives, or that like it was sacred knowledge that they needed to preserve, and they used the oral traditions to preserve it.
They used the oral tradition became their way of newspaper and literature.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the most basic ways of life were by telling those stories. It's one of those things that really separate us from other creatures, right?
That's what I want to talk about, Jesse. I just want to wrap up real quick. Okay, so there wasn't a thing that like Graham Hancock thinks that like some oral traditions were these grand astronomical lessons with like the precession of the stars and the pyramids and all this other stuff. I looked for a connection to that to Momotarō because it sounds like the kind of thing that he would be interested in researching.
Yes.
But I couldn't find anything that said that he had actually looked into it yet. So that was a dead end. But it led me to think about how if we had to do oral traditions these days to continue our knowledge on to the next generation, like what would that even look like? Like how tedious would that be?
Yeah, what stories are valuable enough to retell?
Right, exactly.
Because they're using real people. So they're using real people. So like in the old world, I mean, even just 50 years ago, there's so much more legends about George Washington.
Exactly.
We don't tell those legends anymore.
No.
We don't tell legends about our presidents and our generals.
I kind of feel like we've lost that a little bit.
Yeah, the oral tradition.
Because first of all, you would have to remember it, which is already a pretty tall order for most people, is to like remember a story enough to be able to tell it. You've had to have told it or heard it a lot of times.
Lots of times, yeah.
Right. And with each retelling, it's going to get a little bit colored, a little bit forgotten, a little bit
more violent or a little less violent.
Right, depending on the beliefs or the values of the person that's retelling it. So it's really easy to see how these oral traditions could get morphed or they fluctuate over subsequent retellings. And there's no telling like how off the original that Momotarō has gotten since it was first introduced.
The original, we probably have no idea what it was. There's a company called Geek Orthodox.
Geek Orthodox?
Yeah, like Greek Orthodox, but Geek Orthodox.
That's a great name.
They create stained glass like windows and like prints of this things of like Jedis and
they did like modern things, but it's with the stained glass windows.
And that's cool. I was at Dragon Con talking to one of the creators, and I was like, "Oh well, what inspired this?" He's like, "Well, the saints. Saints used to be very popular. Or heroes used to be these really popular cultural images that would guide society. Well, now." The closest thing we have to that are like our Marvel heroes, DC heroes, our movies and our shows and our books.
But I don't feel like those are accomplishing the same thing that like Momotarō
absolutely
did.
Not. I saw where he was going with it. It was a great attempt at like trying to.
That's not what you walk away from. Captain America for.
You don't walk away more patriotic usually.
Well, maybe Captain America. I picked a bad one, but like not Wolverine. or something like that.
Wolverine, you just want to go drink some whiskey.
Right, exactly. They're not instilling the same like traditions and values that Momotarō did.
Maybe Captain America is a little American,
right? Like, he might have been created for that very purpose.
Yeah. but I mean, maybe that's one of those last images of it. Honestly, maybe Captain America is this idea of like our hero that stands for the American ideal.
Right.
I mean, if you think of like Civil War, Avengers Civil War, it stands for like personal liberty and protection of those who seem like less than.
Because, like you said about. Every kid knows about Momotarō in Japan, and he is a version of a Japanese citizen that the government would love for you to grow up being like.
Yes.
To
absolutely.
Want to emulate.
Bringing people together, fighting demons.
Yes.
Fighting bad guys.
And having loyalty and nationalism.
Yeah, absolutely. And so but that's important for a society to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely important for a society to survive. We, again, in our individualism, we don't think about the importance of survival as society.
Right, because we're not threatened by survival on a daily basis as much.
We come to a day where we need to unify. We will put away our individualism for the sake of protection.
Hopefully.
You think?
Yeah. Ideally. You would think so. One of the interesting things that I noticed is that over time, like we talked about variations and adaptations from the ancient tellings to the modern, I encountered several what I would call ogre apologists in my research. Yes, they're like,
I want that job.
The ogres didn't do anything that bad, or the Onai, they weren't that bad. They were good guys. I mean, they were just like looking out for their own self-interest, and Momotarō came in there and wrecked them all and subjected them to doing what they did to other people. Momotarō did to them.
Yeah. Isn't that the way?
Exactly.
The victor tells the story.
History is written by the victors, and the ogre apologists should not have real jobs, nor be paid for these dissenting opinions.
Anyways, so in general, I'd like to kind of give this tale a rating. You know, we have our 1 through legendary. You know,
1 through 10.
1 through 10, right?
1 through 10.
1 through legendary, not 1 through 10. 1 through legendary. Yeah. So what are we giving this? This story is fun, very engaging with a lot of like levels of groups of people. You can tell this to kids.
You can tell it in a couple of minutes, really.
You could.
Right.
We've extended it, guys. You can tell when Master Ariyoshi told me about it, it took 10 minutes. But I've heard ones that take 20, 30 minutes. I've also heard ones that were very childish, and I've heard ones that were very adult. Like
I even came across one where Momotarō was depicted as being the lazy boy, and he like didn't want to get up and go like do his responsibility of defeating the Onai.
That's very different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that these are like regional variations.
Yeah. So what do we want? What do we want to rate this as?
Well, I was kind of skeptical going into this one. I was like, Jesse, this doesn't have any basis in reality at all, so we don't have a lot to work with. But I ended up kind of embracing the folklore and the tradition aspect of it, and I would probably give it about a 7 as far as legends go. Yeah,
I was thinking about a 7 too. Like it's fun, it's relatable, it has a good social lesson.
That's the most important aspect.
I think the social lesson is important.
And whether or not that was applied after the fact, or if it was something that was kind of intended from the incarnation of it, it's still the most interesting aspect of the story to me is its malleability into any sort of situation involving your group and another group and your peers.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's valuable. So I want to give it a solid 7.
Solid 7.
It's fun. And again, this is a story that anyone in Japan who grew up in Japan knows. Very, very foreign to...
Right. I can not find but like maybe 5 videos on YouTube about Momotarō.
So you'd have to do a lot of reading.
Absolutely.
And I want to take a moment to go back to peach sake.
Peach sake.
Can we rate that really quick?
Well, we polished off the whole bottle.
We did polish off a whole bottle, but it was only 8%.
Right.
So it was like drinking a 2 beers.
Yes, exactly. So not my favorite, but I was glad that we had it for this episode.
Yeah. Again, guys, if you like juicy juice, this is your drink.
If you like things that don't taste like alcohol,
you get that white peach flavored sake by Hana.
But it could not have been more
Hana.
perfect for the subject.
There's no, absolutely.
It might as well have a picture of Momotarō on the bottle.
I'm surprised it doesn't.
Right, exactly. They really missed an opportunity there.
They could have really put themselves on like Momotarō.
Someone should be fired for that.
Well, hopefully they listen to this and learn their lesson.
They're probably an ogre apologist. All right, guys. Well, if you could find it in the kindness of your hearts to hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button.
Share us with your friends.
Share us, yes, please.
We want to be out there for you guys. We want to do this more often for you guys. The more support we get, the more we hear from you guys. You guys can write us. We are on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. You guys are more than welcome to write and be like, hey, I want to hear a story about this.
Exactly. If you enjoyed it, share it with your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, share it with that person that annoys you all the time.
Yeah, give it to your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandmother, your
and
little brother.
Suggest some legends. If you want to hear about something in particular, we will give it our best take and we will dive into it and find out what we discover and let everybody know about it. Like some legends are like right on the tip of your tongue all the time. I think next week or our next episode, we might be talking about Atlantis.
Oh yeah, we're going to that Mystic City, Atlantis.
Which everyone has heard of before, but like this episode, I never heard of Momotarō. And I'm glad that I did because we were able to learn a lot.
Yeah, you guys. And if you want to offer us a libation, don't worry, we'll take care of it. We'll find a legend. We'll find a legend to go with the
libation. Okay, yes,
well, we appreciate you guys.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for joining us on Legends and Libations. Continue sipping through history.
I'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.